Turbo time, honey, turbo! See how excited I am? Okay, just got some good news. Got a heavy package just show up. And if I'm right, the turbo has arrived a full 2 weeks early, which is amazing because the weather's still good. If I can get this engine going, I can actually use my boat in good weather. No, you're not. There we go. This gets a little warped. That's all right.
Ho ho ho. So shiny.
Spins and everything. All right. There you go, a K26 aftermarket Chinesium turbo. Hopefully it works. I was really excited about the turbo. Turns out it doesn't come with everything, including these studs. You gotta pull the old ones out of the old head, which definitely, I think, had I known that or even thought about it, I would have probably just ordered new studs, because this exhaust side isn't too bad, but I think most of the time when you're replacing a turbo, this is going to be the part that's messed up. And yeah, good luck getting studs out of that. But I got one. 3 more to go. Let's see. I just can't believe it's all going my way. He said out loud. It's for everyone to hear. Holy shit. Pulling rusted studs and it's working. Holy guacamole. It can't be stuck if it's a liquid, right? That feels not great. There we go. Yep. Leverage. Oh yeah, I do. There we go. That's the leverage you need. Smooth, baby. Fucking turbo can go right back in there. Look at this mint.
Oh, something moved. It wasn't the plug.
Sorry. How to twist an Allen key 101.
God damn, that's a...
Look at that. Oh boy. Clink. Come on. One of my favorite things about this whole turbo shenanigans is how super cool and chill 3.5-inch exhaust, wet exhaust line is. So easy to work with. Definitely not $1,700 and fucking uncontrollable. So of course, Mechanic Simon's solution is this finely precision tool. There we go. All right, so having done absolutely no Googling, I am just gonna steamroll straight into this. This is my outlet for the raw water down here. It's a 1-inch copper tube, 1-inch ID on this hose here, fits over it. I have a 1-inch ID siphon brake right here, anti-siphon loop. We're going to put that just above the water line. Now, none of this was original because the whole setup for the engine was terrible. And he had an anti-siphon loop on the intake side because he couldn't reach the stuff back here. And so that anti-siphon loop had to be manually operated because you can't put an anti-siphon loop where there's supposed to be suction for the uptake of the raw water. Anyway, we're going to do it properly. We're going to set this up. But one of the things that has to change is that this is the elbow for the mixing elbow right here. And you can see that flange, nice, flat, ready to mate. It's got a gasket in here that I managed to get off without breaking, so I'm going to reuse that. But it's cast iron. And so I've got this horrible looking fitting over here, which is not 1 inch. So it's been so long, I can't remember what kind of Jimmy rig hose setup was here to connect this 1-inch hose back there to this like 1.75 inch outer fitting. It pretty obviously used to have something that fit inside of it that was 1 inch. So I'm gonna go and dig through my collection of pipes, see if I can't drill this out, clean it up, and then fab something into it so that a 1-inch hose fits on it again. That'll work, right? I'm cleaning it up, and like as I'm drilling, it's chipping and falling apart. So this is not going to be weldable. This cast iron is absolutely hooched. So I've got a solution. It's not a good one, but it is a solution. This is the raw water coming out of after the intercooler and everything. So it's going to be heated up, but not like extremely hot. It'll be, in the 35 to 50 degrees Celsius range. So I've got a plastic fitting. I'm going to soak this down in epoxy, hammer it in. The good news is it's not going to react with any of the terrible, horrible, hot, salted water. The bad news is it's not that strong, so I'm going to press send on an order for this piece and see if I can get another one. If I can, I don't know. These old Volvos are increasingly harder and harder to get parts for, so we'll see. But let's mix up some epoxy, hammer this in, and that'll do for now. All right, well, got some fiberglass in there to reinforce it, hold it together. That I can't really hammer or machine anything into that cast iron. It'll just crumble. So hopefully this gives it some strength for the time being. We'll get the new part in, and that'll be an easy one to fix because it's right on top of the turbo. All right, back on the engine. So while we wait for the epoxied elbow to dry up, we've got a few more things we can run. I need to finish wiring up this engine with the starter wires, and since the old ones are really crusty and the battery used to live here in the engine room, we got to rewire it because we're going to make the battery live in the battery compartment to help shift the weight a bit more to port and balance everything out. We're running 2-aught cable in here, and that means I need a common ground for the whole thing and a big fat starter cable. Let's get to it. So the starter cable just goes to the starter. That's fairly straightforward. But the common ground, chime in the comments, where do you think that should go? Because there were 3 different common ground spots on this engine, and they were all just to random crankcase bolts. Maybe not crankcase bolts, but random engine bolts that were holding components onto the engine block. So we're going to reuse, I think, just the one here on the timing chain that's connected to the main water pump. And just to clear up some of that space, I have a completely seized auxiliary alternator that is for 12 volt. Since the battery bank is running on 48 volt, either we're going to get this alternator rewired for 48 volt, or we'll get a separate new alternator put in that can charge the 48 volt system directly. But either way, this thing's got to come out, and it's very rusty. Shout out to Park Wrenches. This is a cone wrench for bearings in a bicycle wheel. I bought this wrench over 20 years ago, and it's been through a car fire. So if you've been watching my channel since the start, my first camper van caught fire and burned to the ground with this tool in it. And that's why it doesn't have any of its plastic coating anymore. I've been rocking this thing for ages. It is so handy to have hardened chromoly steel, super thin wrenches to get into tight spaces. So it's not just for cone nuts on bearings of 1970s bicycles. It also works great on 1970s Volvo engines. We're gonna put it straight in the bilge, straight in the bilge, straight in the bilge, where it belongs, straight in the bilge. There we go.
There you go.
Oh, got it. Oh, one very seized alternator. Oh, woo-wee. Oh, that is so gross. Well, I got way more room for activities, but I also hit up the forums, and apparently, and this makes a ton of sense, if you put the ground right on one of the bolts that bolts your starter onto the engine, then the electricity has a very short space to go when it actually needs to put a ton of power, like 500 amps, into your starter. So we're going to do that because that just makes a lot more sense to me. So that was fun, but not really necessary right now. Now, before I fire up this engine, I better make sure it actually spins over, and of course it doesn't. So now I gotta pull the injectors and see what's going on. Oh, f***ing straighten the bilge. Why are there f***ing O-rings everywhere? All right, so here are my injectors. I've got them all out, and they are all quite dirty, but you can just barely see the nozzle right on the end there. And in the workshop manual, there's a specific height that nozzle needs to be at. So while I've got them out, I should measure them all and ensure that the flow rate's going to work properly through all of these. I don't have a physical tester for this, but I think I can reconnect the injectors outside of the engine and spin it over, and then it should be able to squirt fuel and show me that I'm getting good atomization out of all my injectors to get good efficiency, which means running properly, each piston's the right temperature, and I'm getting better fuel economy and better power. In the meantime, though, let's see if this engine turns over now that the injectors are out. I can bet you it won't. I can bet you good money. And then we can tackle that. I'm not. Nope. That's a seized engine, tell you what. All right. I'm gonna go get some ATF fluid and some diesel. Hey, why is that injector got water coming out of it? I'm pretty sure that's water. There's no, it's not like the through hull's shut. There's no raw water coming in. Where's that water coming from? God damn it. I got a telephone line worth of tubing here. Stripped the wire out of it, and I got this guy on a syringe. These pistons, I was porting those because it feels like there's something right there, but it's like the same on each piston. Alright, so we got water in the aft two pistons, and it's raining today. And I got water dripping here. And it looks like I've got water dripping right here, which is directly above the turbo. So that explains a few things. Oh yeah, there we go. All right, we have the intake valve on cylinder 5 was stuck. So that was kind of worth me taking this apart, knocking it loose. I can't tell right now if all the valves are actually seating. To do that, I'll have to get the engine to turn over and do a pressure test. So we'll get to that when we get the engine loose. So in the meantime, I'm going to pour down some ATF and some diesel mixed together into each of these cylinders and let that sit for a few days, and then try and turn the engine over. Okay, this has been kind of crazy. I just got back from town where I was at a tool shop spending a considerable amount of time looking for a tiny little straw so that I could get into cylinder 6 and suck out whatever remaining fluid was there, and you know, that's a whole thing. And then this morning I was looking through some diagrams and I finally found one cutaway of the injector port on I think it was a MD41, not an MD40, but anyways, almost the same engine. And I could see that there's this little tiny something, and it's not described in any of the forum posts or anywhere. Maybe it's like a screen or a washer. I'm hoping it's a washer with a hole in the middle of it between the injector and the heater for the preheat for the fuel and everything, and the actual combustion chamber. So anyway, I'm at the tool shop and I want to find a tiny little straw, and I'm going down up and down all the aisles, and I'm like, where would I find the tiny little straw? And looking at a bunch of tools I can't afford and all this other stuff, and I'm like, all right, fine. I finally leave and I buy some parts cleaner and degreaser. And then I'm unloading groceries and everything else, and I look at this parts cleaner and degreaser, open the lid, and I see that it's got one of these nozzles with like a little red pointer on it. And I was like, oh, so they've put the pointer on it instead of giving me the little hose that it comes with, the little straw. I'm like, oh shit. So literally every can of other cleaner that I have comes with a perfect little straw. So I guess I'll go use that on cylinder 6 now. I think I should just make a bench back here, some sort of seat to sit on, because I'm going to spend so much damn time crouched over the stern of my engine. I'm in now past the injector seat into that weird chamber that's there, because I looked at the underside. I really don't want to have to take off this head. So to take off the head, I would take off the intake manifold and then pull all of these like 28 bolts or whatever and yank off the head. And then I have to do a head gasket if I'm going to do that. And yeah, and it's a Volvo, so I bet you the head gasket's not cheap. So I'm just going to poke around in here and see if I can get past whatever's there. But if it's a screen, if it's like a fucking mesh, then I'm just SOL. I'll check back in with you in like 20 minutes after I've sat around here poking and poking until I finally conclude that it must be a screen. Or it's offset. Maybe I'll go look at this diagram again. It's been just over 24 hours. Well, a little bit more than that. No, I feel like it's close though. Maybe it's just a vibes thing. Despite my tiny straw, I still can't get in to the actual piston, and that means I have to yank the head. Now, I think what's going on here from my Googling is that inside the injector hole slash the preheat hole, glow plug hole, is what's called a pre-combustion chamber. And that pre-combustion chamber is an insert that actually could be removed. And if it wasn't for the fact that it's probably super seized in there, maybe I could get it out, but it's definitely not coming out. So the head's got to come off, which means a new head gasket, which means, yeah, probably a lot of other things, but let's get to it. A lot of work to do. So in order to get the head off, I got the intake manifold off, but of course the exhaust manifold is also bolted on it. So there's the turbo that I already installed. I gotta take it back off. But don't worry, because everything else on this engine seems to be bolted to this exhaust manifold. So I got the intercooler over here, the oil cooler. Both of those have to come off. There's a bunch of brackets in here with 4 freaking inch long bolts with half an inch of clearance for me to get into it. It's gonna be a long day of unbolting, I'll tell you that. All of this work just to get some bad news. I know it's gonna be bad news. Do you know what I'm like? Why am I doing this? I didn't need that washer. Straight to the bilge! There goes the heat exchanger. Now it's onto the turbo. Oh, that's gonna suck. Oh, that's gonna suck so much. Do I have to keep these push rods in the exact right same holes? Like, I think that's something I gotta do. Fuck, I won't Google these goddamn hands. morning. Today's the day. It's gonna move. It's gonna move. You want to move. You love moving, don't you? Yes, you do. Let's go. Let's go. We're gonna spinny bin. Spinny spin. Spinny spin. Spinny spin, spin, spin. Come on. We've tried WD-40, we've tried Seafoam's Deep Creep, we've tried ATF and diesel. We've tried lighting the diesel on fire. Pro tip, I got that one from another mechanic. Don't light your wiring loom on fire. That's bad. And then we also tried a lot of concussive force. But the concussive force was being transmitted through a piece of fur. Now, watching online with some of the car guys, they're saying use an iron rod and something that's fairly large and wide so that it transmits shock energy. You're not trying to force the piston, you're just trying to shock the piston rings loose. Just a little crack, not a lot of motion, but just a sharp energy. However, these pistons, I'm not sure if they're made of cast aluminum or not. I hope not, because that doesn't seem very strong on a diesel engine, but I don't understand how any of this works. So instead of going straight to metal, I'm going to go find myself a piece of hardwood, something real stiff, and try that next. All right, now that we have the pistons soaking, I decided to go after the crankcase. So this is the 1-inch drain plug at the bottom of the oil pan. Now my engine's set up pretty high off of the floor of the boat, so I was actually able to get some buckets underneath the engine and drain the engine that way. Now normally you drain it through a spigot on the side of the engine, and that's what I had done the previous 4 oil changes, all of which did not go very well. And as you can tell from the amount of oily water that I've got here, I wasn't actually changing the oil at all, and whatever's going on with that spigot, it is not pulling stuff off the bottom of the oil pan the way it's supposed to. So it's probably broken or broken off, or there's a hole in it, I don't know. But looks like I'll be doing oil changes the old school automotive way from now on. No, what's been happening is every time I try this, inevitably something will knock the extension off and it ends up in the deepest corner of the bilge again. Oh, nope. It's not. Nope. Could like drill a hole right through this pulley and then put that breaker bar like through the fucking hole. That'll work. Alright, there you go, the boat builder. The water pipes are frozen, so I'm not showering. That sounds bad. See how great that sounds?
welding is done.
Introducing the grab his crank and twist it. Old crank twist.
Grab his
Crank.
twist it! Oh my god, dude, this is an MMA fight, dude. It's too much. Twist that!
Crank.
Twist this.
Crank.
Oh my god.
Crank.
Twist!
This patent pending design is a 1-inch socket welded to a heavy metal plate drilled out to match the pulley on the front of my engine.
You're doing it all wrong. See, what you gotta do is you gotta turn the thing. Have you been turning it the right way? Have you tried the other way too? Sometimes you just gotta like wiggle like that. Have you tried giving it a little tap?
Yeah, once or twice. Just in there? Is that where you gotta do it? There's a couple of good mallets there if you really want to give it a whack.
No, just a little tap. It's just about the... Are you sure it's supposed to spin?
Come on, put your back into it.
Look, no, I don't break it. You can't break it. You have to treat these...
You are very, very strong, so...
Yeah, you have to treat, like, an engine's like a lady, you know?
Yeah.
Responds to a gentle touch.
Is that what it is?
Have you tried giving it oil? You know, engine likes its oil, like a sailor likes its rum.
Jeez, I really thought you'd have that magic touch, Aaron. I guess you're losing your magic touch.
Oh, don't you worry, I'll get it for you. I'll get it.
Alright.
How many hours have you spent doing this today?
Yeah, the 8 or 10 hours, I guess. Worth of crawling around this engine.
Yeah, if I did get it, you would have loosened it. It's just like the pickle jar kind of trick. You know, an engine likes its oil like a sailor likes its rum.
Why is that, Aaron?
Nobody really knows.
Alright, you gonna lube that up? That's cool. This is great.
I can feel it moving. Oh my god.
You got it. You got it.
Totally got it.
I worry that you could break the wrench. So it is a socket wrench.
Well, I could break anything.
Yeah, it's just watch where you're gonna fly when it do break it. You know, there's a lot of sharp and slippery things in here.
Maybe it's just not moving because you're watching.
Do you want me to turn around? Here, I'll go stand in the other room. You guys just keep an eye on her, okay? I want to go to the other room.
No, then you're gonna see how I cheat.
I'm not watching. You do whatever you gotta do.
Hey, this sure is stuck, huh?
Mm-hmm. All right, I've been swinging at these pistons for about a week now, and we've worked our way through quite a few lubricants. And the first one we did was ATF and diesel. Then we went straight for one of the classics around here. This is the one I was trained using, Seafoam's Deep Creep.
We tried the 3-in-1 penetrating oil, and Aaron's dad came by with the Rostov by Worth, which is a professional quality penetrant lubricant, apparently. None of them have worked. So then I spent some time online, and of course every single mechanic has a different product that they suggest. PB Blaster shows up a lot, but I can't get it here on the island, and maybe on my next Nanaimo trip I'll pick some up. But right now I'm going to try acetone and ATF because that's popped up the most of all of the solutions. So we'll mix it up 50-50 and pour it in the cylinders, see what happens. Drink up. Sippy sippy. Mmm, tasty. We've had the bottom end off of it. We've had the grab his crank and twist it on there as hard as we could. We've had every different chemical known to man in here. I haven't done muriatic acid yet because it would eat into the cylinders and cause me to have a rebuild. Now I'm really trying to avoid doing a rebuild on this engine because Volvo parts, just the pistons alone, will be about $3,000. And then I still have, that's the pistons and the sleeves. I still have to maybe get all new bearings for the lower end and then an entire gasket kit. And I'm priced all of that out, and it's about $5,600 to get gaskets, pistons, sleeves, bearings, and that's not including some of the other components I've been pulling off here that are also kind of busted. The RTV that's absolutely everywhere in this engine. Yeah, and then the gearbox, which is a bucket of rust. And I have no idea if that's ever going to work again. It looks worse than the engine does. So yeah, I'm getting a little emotional. Because it's becoming kind of obvious that that's it. That this is the end for the old Volvo TMD40. And it's been I think from what I hear from the previous owners, a reliable engine for both of them, and it's kind of sad, you know, that Peri's beating heart is, well, she needs a transplant. And yeah, engines aren't that cheap, but fixing a Volvo is more expensive than buying another engine. So looking at the used market, there's plenty of stuff, you know, $5,000 or less in that range if I'm really kind of trying to cut some corners. And even if I'm not cutting corners, I can get a brand new Yanmar in this thing for like $15,000, which is like an insane amount of money. When you're talking about Volvo used 50-year-old Volvo parts and how expensive they are, like just the parts in this alone easily cost more than a brand new engine. So I think it's time that I maybe give up on her. But before we give up on her, I do want to put the grabber crank and twist it on here as hard as she'll go, and I want to hit that piston as hard as I can and see if we can get this piece of shit to move. an animal hard enough, even a mechanical one, and it will piss itself. So the more I wail on this, the more random fluids come pouring out the bottom of this engine. I think I've just shattered the cylinder wall here. Now there's coolant. First it was oil, now it's coolant. This engine's fucked. It's done. So if you have a $15,000 engine you'd love to give me, hit me up. It's right there. And in the meantime, I'm going to figure out how to get this 1,000-pound piece of steel out of my boat. And I hear Ryan needs a mooring, so got it. Well, it's been a week. I've used up all of my different types of penetrating oils. I've gone through a long list. Not all of them have been on camera, but a lot of different chemicals have hit these bores. I have now smashed pistons beyond any use, and I'm looking at a complete engine rebuild, and the pistons are still not moving. I broke every breaker bar I own, and a couple I don't. So, we're looking for a new engine, and that's that. We're going to part this thing out to try and fund it, but Volvo parts are extremely expensive, so getting this thing rebuilt and repaired is not a financially sound idea unless I get a perfect donor, and given the amount of damage this thing has, this would be the donor to another engine. So if you've got an opportunity out there for a 100 horsepower engine that can go into this boat, or know of something that can help it work, please, by all means, leave it in the comments or shoot me an email. And yeah, we'll see you next week.